When this boy steps into a high-stakes duel against the absolute top prodigy of a highly renowned family, every single person in the crowd expects him to get completely crushed. But instead of a quick defeat, what happens next is the ultimate humiliation. The genius girl unleashes her absolute strongest techniques, one after another, desperately trying everything in her power just to land a single hit on him. But Leo, he casually dodges every single incoming attack as if she is moving in absolute slow motion. And then, with just one single strike, he sends her flying entirely across the arena. She crashes heavily onto the ground in absolute shock, completely unable to understand or process what just happened. How could a seemingly random boy overpower her so effortlessly? Leo simply looks down at her with a calm expression and says, "Kids these days are way too weak." Then he tosses her one of the magical weight bracelets he had been wearing around his wrists during the entire fight. The very moment she tries to catch it, her arms instantly give out under the pressure. Even while using both of her hands, she cannot support its insane, crushing weight and collapses miserably onto the dirt. In that exact moment, the true terrifying difference between their strength becomes undeniable. The girl finally realizes a horrifying truth. From the very beginning, she never stood a single chance against him. But the real question that leaves everyone boggled is, who exactly is this absolute monster? Well, Leo Plav is anything but an ordinary boy. He is actually the reincarnated form of a legendary hero from 5,000 years ago, the Mahan warrior who once saved all of humanity alongside the greatest party of heroes in history. His journey in this new world begins as a baby, while his mother sits beside him reading a storybook about those legendary heroes of the past. But to our boy's absolute horror, his previous name, Hero Kale, is nowhere to be found in the entire book. He has been completely erased from history, which instantly sends him into a fit of rage. He cannot comprehend how someone of his status and achievements could be completely wiped out from the world's memory, so he vows to do whatever it takes to uncover the hidden truth. As time passes and he grows older, he enters a royal preparatory school for heroes, designed to train children before they finally join the Grand Magic Academy. However, the daily lessons bore him to absolute death, and everyone around him feels painfully, incredibly weak. It is only when he finally returns home that his real brutal training begins. Just as he steps outside his home, he is instantly ambushed by a woman who charges straight at him. Leo, though briefly startled, manages to react in time and perfectly blocks her heavy strike with his own blade. These two have crossed swords. The lady openly declares how much she has been looking forward to sparring with him after such a long time. As it turns out, this formidable, highly skilled woman is none other than Leo's own mother. In a split second, she lunges at him again, and their swords clash with immense force. Eventually, however, Leo manages to completely turn the tide of the battle. His sheer raw skill and absolute mastery over swordsmanship allow him to completely overpower his mother, forcing her to raise her hands and surrender. The woman is left completely in awe of her son's unbelievable talent and growth. She stands up, adjusts her posture, and asks him in a much softer, more serious tone why he is so fiercely determined to attend Lumine Academy. Before the story can move forward, a little bit of important context about the academy is necessary. Lumine Academy, the legendary human hero institution, is one of the 4 prestigious academies of the distinct races that house the sacred hero record. Among all of them, Leo strongly suspects that Lumine Academy is the most likely place to uncover the remaining remnants and secrets of his past life as Hero Kale. With such a massive personal reason driving him, it is no surprise that Leo remains completely unwavering in his determination to join the academy this term. Leo's mother then reminds him that the elite members of the prominent Zerdringer clan are currently visiting the city of Delon, and they will be staying directly at the Plav mansion. Though she personally isn't thrilled about hosting them in their home, she has a specific request to make of Leo. She intends to speak directly with Zeiss, the vice patriarch of the Zerdringer clan, hoping that he might be willing to teach Leo the legendary Zerdringer aura technique. She firmly believes that with this elite technique, Leo will become strong enough to easily be admitted into Lumine Academy by next year. However, what she doesn't know is that her son is determined to get admitted this year. He has absolutely no patience to wait another whole year to achieve his ultimate goals. Sometime later, the scene shifts to the Grand Plav mansion, where Sia Zerdringer is being formally escorted into the grounds. As soon as she steps out of her luxury carriage, she looks around and can't help but openly wonder why her uncle chose to stay in a small place like this when he could have easily rented an entire luxury hotel all to himself. As we already know, she is Celia Zerdringer, 15 years old, a highly praised sword princess hailing from the main line of the Zerdringer clan. Her primary focus is entirely on the upcoming Lumen entrance exam, and she is extremely skeptical about how a minor noble family like the Plavs could possibly help her prepare for it. At that exact moment, Celia's uncle calls out to her. He is none other than Zeiss Zerdringer, the powerful vice-patriarch of the Zerdringer clan. He teasingly asks her if she isn't at least a little bit curious to meet Leo, the very boy who boldly declared to everyone that he had absolutely no interest in the Zerdringer clan. Celia remains completely nonchalant, scoffing and remarking that if Leo is just a hopeful knight who can't even use a basic aura yet, then in her personal opinion, he's probably not impressive at all. Zeiss, however, does not share her arrogant sentiment. On the contrary, he seems quite optimistic and intrigued by Leo's hidden potential. Once they formally enter the mansion, Zeiss steps forward to greet the heads of the Plav household. He exchanges highly respectful words with Dade Plav, the patriarch, and Reina Plav, his wife. Both hosts graciously return the polite gesture, welcoming the Zerdringers to their home with equal honor. Zeiss then formally introduces Celia to Reina and Dade. Reina steps forward and takes a quiet moment to closely observe Celia. She notes that Celia closely resembles both her father and her uncle, in both her appearance and her proud behavior. Celia in turn takes note of Reina's striking black hair and intense red eyes. It doesn't take long for her to realize a shocking truth. Reina is actually a part of the Zerdringer family bloodline, which makes her Celia's own aunt. Later on, Zeiss and Reina, who share the close bond of being brother and sister, sit back in the lounge and begin catching up on lost time. During their conversation, Zeiss mentions their recent visit to the Royal School of Delon, where they had highly hoped to catch a quick glimpse of Leo. However, they were deeply disappointed to find that he had already left the school premises early, simply because he was completely uninterested in meeting anyone. Reina immediately apologizes on behalf of her son, acknowledging that his cold behavior may have seemed incredibly disrespectful to guests. Zeiss then curiously questions his sister about Leo, asking what kind of person he truly is. Reina speaks incredibly highly of him, claiming that Leo is unbelievably, shockingly talented. Zeiss becomes quite intrigued to hear this. While he fully trusts his sister's judgment, he feels compelled to personally test Leo himself before forming a final opinion. Later, we meet Leo, who is sitting quietly in his room, deeply trying to concentrate on his inner energy. After finishing his small meditation ritual, he proudly declares to himself that he has finally achieved a physical vessel capable of holding everything he needs. Leo reflects on the exact reason why he hadn't yet learned to use aura until now. The truth lies entirely in the unique, complex nature of his body. Accepting aura too early in his development would cause his physical body to naturally adapt and specialize in alignment with that specific aura element. This would permanently limit his ability to accumulate massive amounts of mana and soul energy, two essential components of his massive long-term plan. In his past life, he had witnessed firsthand the immense danger of uncontrolled, unspecialized power. If he had fully harnessed the abilities and core essence of his fallen comrades back then, he wouldn't have left behind a seedling of disaster for the future. To completely avoid repeating history, Leo is absolutely determined to achieve perfect, flawless control in this current life. Therefore, the first real step in his journey is mastering aura, but he intends to do so entirely on his own strict terms. Before he can delve any further into his thoughts, a familiar condescending voice calls out to him, instantly pulling his attention away. As he turns his head over toward the doorway, he spots Celia Zerdringer. With a confident, arrogant smirk on her face, she comments on how he finally seems to have grasped the very basic concepts of physical training. While her words carry a heavy hint of sarcasm, she goes on to formally offer him her personal guidance in swordsmanship if he thinks he's up for the challenge. Meanwhile, our boy has absolutely no idea who the hell she is, forcing her to proudly introduce herself as Celia Zerdringer, the world-class sword princess, just to be completely specific. With the introductions out of the way, Leo gets straight to the point. Although he claims to feel quite honored that she thought about him, he states that he has absolutely no intention of receiving any guidance from someone he considers far less skilled than himself. Needless to say, the proud girl is deeply annoyed to hear this, because his blunt remarks suggest that he thinks he is stronger than her. To this, Leo calmly clarifies that in a literal death match to the end, she is probably stronger right now since he cannot use aura himself. However, sparring with only pure swordsmanship is a whole different game, and he is completely certain he can handle her like it's no big deal at all. Celia feels deeply challenged and insulted by his bold statement. She looks around the room, steps over, and grabs one of the practice swords from the massive plethora of weapons available on the rack. She wants to prove to him that what he has is nothing more than misplaced, foolish confidence. In her mind, even if Leo eventually learns to use aura, there is absolutely no way he could possibly defeat someone of her caliber. She simply wants to teach him a harsh, painful lesson in reality. She further claims that if she wins the duel during her week-long stay here, he will be forced to become her personal servant. Leo isn't fazed at all by the harsh terms she has thrown at him, and in response, he calmly asks, "What happens if I win?" To make things completely fair, she throws back that if he somehow wins, she will become his personal servant instead. Now that the official bet is set, Leo grabs a basic practice sword and dives right into the sparring session. He tries to strike her with his unexpectedly impressive blinding speed, but she easily outmaneuvers his first move. However, as they clash, she cannot help but notice internally that his raw physical speed is actually quite concerningly good. Still, Celia is absolutely sure that this won't be nearly enough for him to win against her. As they both charge heavily at each other again, Leo lands a brutally heavy strike, and the sheer, monstrous physical strength behind it completely overwhelms her stance. She quickly steps back in a panic as the raw force becomes far too much to handle. When Leo's sword collides heavily with the ground, the weapon shatters instantly into pieces, but Leo doesn't stop there. He charges at her once more barehanded. The once arrogant lady is already starting to deeply regret challenging Leo, and she is absolutely certain she cannot possibly block the incoming strike, so she braces herself and takes the hit head-on. But to everyone's utter surprise, she doesn't take any physical damage because she had secretly panicked and used an elite aura armor at the very last moment. Even though this was completely against the rules of the spar, because this duel was strictly meant to be about pure swordsmanship, this arrogant girl refuses to own up to the fact that she couldn't dodge his attack. Instead, she quickly makes a pathetic excuse claiming it was just an involuntary reflex. But Leo stops, steps back, and loudly declares that he has already won the match, so it doesn't matter. Of course, this leaves her in complete disbelief, as she is not ready to hand him the victory that easily. Leo had fully expected this stubbornness, so he reaches down and throws off the magic weight bracelets he had been wearing to hold back his physical strength. In the very next hit, he unleashes a strike that literally shatters her aura barrier into dust, leaving the girl completely boggled and terrified. Meanwhile, Leo shows her absolutely no mercy, giving her a direct taste of his full, monstrous strength until she completely faints from fear. The unbending will of Leo. Later on in the courtyard, as Leo is walking around, he stumbles across his mother, who promptly introduces him to his uncle Zeiss. Leo quickly bows his head to pay his proper respects, and Zeiss reciprocates the gesture, introducing himself as well. The two gentlemen then firmly shake hands. His mother then asks if he has had the chance to meet Celia yet, to which Leo casually recalls how she had fainted right after their battle due to pure fear. Before Leo can fully explain the details of what happened to her, a knight quickly approaches Zeiss with an urgent report regarding the young lady. Zeiss is utterly fascinated and shocked to learn that Leo defeated Celia with a physical body that hasn't even learned a basic aura yet. He personally expresses his deep admiration for Leo, saying it is nothing short of incredible. But Leo humbly claims that she just severely underestimated him. Zeiss then curiously questions what Celia actually lost in their wager. To this, Leo happily responds that the loser was supposed to become the personal servant of the winner. So basically, Celia is his maid for the next week. As much as Zeiss deeply dislikes this idea, he understands the importance of a noble keeping their word. Still, he makes it clear to Leo that Celia is from the main Zerdringer house, so he cannot possibly allow her to be ordered around to do common maid's work. He hopes Leo will willingly rescind the promise, and in exchange, he offers to personally reward our boy with something far more valuable. But Leo refuses the offer right away without a single thought. He lets his uncle know that this was a fair wager between Celia and himself, and as long as she proudly retains the Zerdringer family name, she needs to take full responsibility for her actions. The uncle then tries a different angle, questioning him if he is truly willing to let go of the golden opportunity to learn the Zerdringer's legendary aura-breathing method. Leo once again responds with a sassy, sharp jab. He firmly believes that an aura-breathing method given with the sole objective of preventing a niece from being humiliated holds absolutely no value in being learned. Since Zeiss has no other way around this awkward predicament, he decides to get a little offensive and apply pressure. He questions the boy directly, reminding him that he just declared he would use the direct lineage of the Zerdringers as a common servant, and that the grand Zerdringer aura breathing method is completely worthless. Leo remains entirely unhinged and unafraid of the consequences or the pressure surrounding him, simply claiming that what his uncle just said is indeed true. Out of the blue, the uncle's tense mood completely softens, and he politely questions our boy if he does not think that what he just declared is highly impudent and impolite. Leo once again makes it completely clear that he had absolutely no intention of insulting the Zerdringer name. He claims that if he were being given the aura breathing technique as a fair reward for defeating Celia in battle, he would have gladly and respectfully accepted it. However, he has absolutely no intention of accepting it as a cheap bribe just so she can escape the consequences of her loss. You see, if his uncle doesn't want to recognize Celia's defeat, it means they believe she is better than him and simply lost the duel by a fluke or mistake. But Leo makes it undeniably clear that even if Celia had sparred against him in full earnest from the start, he still would have won. This leaves Leo's mother looking even prouder of her son. Her brother, Zeiss, is equally fascinated to hear such strong judgment and conviction from a child. The fact that this kid rejected the elite offer simply because he didn't like the disrespectful way his uncle behaved only highlights how outstanding of a child he truly is. He genuinely wishes that a child like Leo were born a Zerdringer. Zeiss then gestures to his personal knights and strictly orders them to send Celia directly to the maid's quarters. He turns back to Leo and proudly grants him the rare right to address his uncle directly without using any formal honorary titles. After that short conversation, Leo parts ways with them. Zeiss turns to his elder sister Reina, proudly telling her that once he gets back home to the clan, he will make sure to personally convince their elder brothers so they can officially teach Leo the mighty, ultimate secret technique, the Phoenix Breath. Later, the scene switches directly to Leo's room. The very first thing we notice is Celia's totally embarrassed face. She is going absolutely bonkers with pure embarrassment as she introduces herself as Celia the maid, who will be in complete charge of serving Leo for the next week. Leo is literally enjoying the heck out of it, smirking when she addresses him with the master title. Who could have possibly imagined that her usual fancy, elite style would actually suit plain maid clothes so well? The dress just looks like absolute fire on her. Celia seems deeply annoyed by the way he is openly praising her appearance, snapping that she knows all too well how beautiful she is. Leo quickly apologizes, stating that he wasn't intending to offend her with his words, but he admits that in his past, he had a certain close friend who praised beauty way too much, and that habit must have rubbed off on him over time. He recalls how that particular friend used to always say that the beauty of eternity is completely unparalleled, and if true peace ever returns to this world, he will spend the rest of his life spreading beauty to everyone. The ancient friend he is talking about is none other than the legendary dwarven master smith, Duino. Suddenly, Celia's eyes take note of the book Leo is currently reading, and she curiously inquires about it. Leo explains that he used to read it a lot when he was much younger. It's the historical book known as The Great Hero of the Beginning. Celia remembers how she used to read this exact book when she was literally 5 years old. Seeing how much he likes this particular historical figure, she walks over to the bookshelf and pulls out another volume, mentioning that there are a lot of books written about Kale. In response, Leo claims that many of the greatest achievements in history are incredibly difficult to attribute to any single individual hero. He believes that many of these massive accomplishments, which are currently attributed to one hero, might actually be the result of the collective actions of multiple heroes working over a long period of time. In short, he is trying to imply that Kale's real achievements have been intentionally attributed to other heroes. But Celia instantly dismisses such deep thoughts, claiming that Kale was probably just a pathetic scammer who tried to take credit for the actual achievements of the great heroes. At least, that's what most people in the modern world think. And of course, she is one of them. Naturally, Leo is not thrilled to hear that modern people consider his past self, Kale, a phony scammer with zero real contributions to the world. He then pushes aside all the frustrating talk about Kale and decides it's time for breakfast before starting their daily training session. Outwardly, she acts all pleasant, submissive, and polite, but inwardly, the girl is feeling a lot of toxic, vengeful thoughts toward him. Still, she has to play along perfectly because she desperately wants to uncover the hidden secret behind his monstrous strength. Leo promptly starts walking toward the training hall to fulfill her request. A while later, we see a completely exhausted Celia down on her knees, breathing incredibly heavily. After this brutal first round, Leo calmly gives his feedback. He explains that during a real fight, when a person's stamina reaches its absolute limit, their reaction speed slows down drastically, and far more gaps begin to appear between their physical movements. And when that happens, she leaves herself completely open to a fatal strike, which is exactly what is happening to her right now. But Celia isn't sure that abusing her physical body to this extreme is actually helpful for true training. Leo responds positively, stating that young people these days are just way too weak. You see, compared to the past, modern aura techniques have developed considerably, and that must be the exact reason why modern people stopped caring about core physical body training as much. Aura allows a person to artificially enhance their body strength, but if you train your actual physical body first, the aura is enhanced to an even greater degree. The proud girl simply doesn't want to be labeled as weak by him, so she gathers her guts and forces herself to stand up for another round. Before diving back in, she fiercely warns Leo that he better stop underestimating her. But her reckless, angry charge backfires completely when Leo just flings her away with one simple swing of his arm, causing her to crash hard onto the ground. At this point, she is just utterly frustrated after taking one humiliating defeat after another. Leo then offers her a bracelet, which she quickly extends her hands to grab. Little does she know, this bracelet is heavily imbued with ancient weight magic, making it insanely, brutally heavy. Meanwhile, Leo flashes a sinister, dark smile as he reveals his intentions. He apparently plans to make her train while wearing this heavy bracelet from this exact point onward. The next day, we see Zeiss standing by, quietly watching the two of them train. After seeing how much Celia is struggling and sweating, the uncle is certain this is going to be an incredibly good, humbling experience for her. Before she heads off to Lumine, it might be good for her massive pride to completely crumble at least once. He then calls out to Leo and delivers some great news. He is thinking of formally asking the patriarch of the clan to allow Leo to inherit the legendary Phoenix Breath. The mere mention of Phoenix Breath catches Leo completely off guard because, as far as he can recall from history, that is basically the Zerdringer family's absolute origin for their aura technique. He has heard that only people who are highly recognized and blood-vetted within the main family can ever inherit it. Celia also raises her opinion, gasping that her strict father won't allow a Washington outsider to learn it that easily, but it looks like Zeiss has already figured this much out. He proposes a strict condition to Leo. If he successfully passes the brutal Lumine entrance examination, he will be officially allowed to learn the technique. Of course, this remark doesn't sit well with Celia because, in her eyes, Leo is still just a brat who can't even use basic aura. And since the Lumine entrance examination consists of actual, real-life fights, it is going to be very dangerous for someone without aura. Well, Leo doesn't shy away from claiming that he doesn't have any real-world fight experience in this body, but we all know that is only the case if he doesn't take his massive previous life into account. Zeiss awaits Leo's final opinion, to which our boy quickly agrees, stating he will do it as long as his parents are completely okay with this decision. A whole week passes by in a flash, and the day of the highly anticipated Lumine entrance examination finally arrives. When the surrounding crowd sees the prominent, famous figure of Celia Zerdringer among the participating students, everyone is in absolute awe. Meanwhile, Celia throws a quick jab at Leo, asking him if he is feeling nervous. It looks like after spending so much time being his personal maid, Celia has completely lost herself in the character because she is still accidentally referring to Leo with the master title in public. As they stand there in the crowd, Gullivan's unmistakable, arrogant voice catches their attention. He is actually here specifically to see Celia, but he is a little shocked when he notices that Leo is standing right next to her. This piece of work immediately throws heavy shade at Leo, loudly stating that our boy does not belong here at all, since he doesn't even know how to use basic aura. At the same time, he tries to greet Celia politely and smoothly. However, the poor guy is completely, brutally ignored by the duo as if he doesn't even exist in the physical plane. He gets incredibly awkward and tries to loudly remind Celia that he is Gullivan Tratton, and he had formally greeted her when they met last time. But to Gullivan's absolute dismay, Celia doesn't even recognize his name and quickly grabs Leo's hand in order to leave the awkward scene. Suddenly, they are called out by someone else entirely. It is actually two prominent siblings gracing the scene with an elite aura. The taller one is Abed Llewellyn, hailing from the powerful Llewellyn family, and he is 16 years old. And the shorter girl standing beside him is Chelsea Llewellyn, 14 years old, who shares the exact same family name. While Celia seems to instantly recognize these two, Leo has absolutely no clue who they are. Celia quickly explains to him that they are the famous Llewellyn siblings, hailing from the same heroic lineage of the Grand Lordran Empire, the children of the main Llewellyn family. Celia is particularly fired up because she is not thrilled to see these two at all. She fiercely warns Leo that the Llewellyn siblings will be partaking in the exam with them, so they absolutely cannot lose to them under any circumstances. She definitely cannot have the Zerdringer clan lose to the Llewellyn family, but this isn't really Leo's concern. After all, he is from the Plav family, not Zerdringer. Anyway, when the two siblings greet Celia, she doesn't have any valid reason to decline their public greetings and formally reciprocates the gesture. She also makes sure to formally introduce Leo from House Plav, a noble family within the kingdom of Dalad. Hearing that Leo doesn't have a fancy top-tier elite title attached to his name, Abad Llewellyn instantly dismisses him as completely insignificant. The two siblings promptly twirl around and proceed to walk away, throwing out a final warning that they will surely be taking the top spot in the exam. It goes without saying that Celia utterly hates the Llewellyn siblings' guts and is highly looking forward to thoroughly crushing them in the upcoming trials. Suddenly, someone representing Lumine Academy steps onto the grand podium, immediately commanding the absolute attention of every single person present. The powerful man introduces himself as Albi Saran, a renowned professor at Lumine Academy. While Celia's expression instantly shifts to one of absolute shock and awe upon seeing this highly prestigious figure, Leo remains completely unimpressed, mostly because he has no idea who this guy is. Celia is visibly annoyed that Leo doesn't even recognize someone of Albi's legendary stature. She takes the quick opportunity to educate him, leaning in and explaining that Albi Saran is a legendary warrior who is literally listed directly in the Sacred Hero record. As she says this, Leo looks up and a knowing smile creeps onto his face. The stage is finally set.